Well, let's now start with the first guiding question. What is a budget? And for this, I have an example of the exam that you wrote last week. Well, let's take the example of PLA 10. So, of course, you also plan your time, or hopefully you do that, for studying for an exam. So let's say we now take the exam of PLA 10. You knew at the beginning of the course there's going to be an A exam, and you had time to think about how to study for this. Let's say, to fictitious case, we're now 4 weeks before the exam, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and 1 week. And let's say this is your plan. And here you can also see, we can also call this budget. So let's say this is our budget, this is our plan, what we want to do. So let's say 4 weeks before the exam you say, well, it's enough if I study 5 hours for the exam that is coming up. Then 3 weeks before you also say, well, I study 5 hours. 2 weeks also again 5 hours. And 1 week before the exam you say, well, 10 hours should be fine. So in total, you're going to have 25 hours that you study for the exam. Well, I don't know if that's realistic that you start 4 weeks before, but let's say the ideal case would be that you start early for preparing the exam. So let's now look at what actually happens. So your actual, let's call it actual performance, because this is also what we're going to use next week when we look at accounting for control. So let's say it's again 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and 1 week. Let's say in the first, let's say 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks before the exam, you only study 3 hours. And 3 weeks before the exam, only 4 hours. Then you know, well, you did not reach your goal here and also your goal here. So, well, you can answer the question probably yourself. What do you have to do? What you actually have to do is to adjust the budget and actually trying to, well, or not adjust the budget, but adjust your performance and correct your performance. So basically, what you have to do is, let's say here, work 6 hours, and here 12 hours. And if you sum this all together, you see that you're again at 25 hours. So what we can actually say is that a budget is a financial plan for the short term. And short term means not more than 1 year. And, well, it's financial, but it can also be all other resources like time, labor hours that you use, money. So it's a plan for the short term. And what we just did is we looked at making a plan really happen. So we actually looked at what really happens and then we adjusted our performance. And this is called control. So the process of making planned events actually occur is control. And well, these are the two functions basically of budgeting. Well, what we did is we compared our budget with the actual performance. And then we adjusted our performance. And this is called control. So the two functions of budgeting are actually planning, which we do now, which we also do in chapter 6 of the book, and controlling, which is what we do next week, also chapter 7 of the book. And these are the two functions of budgets. And with this, hopefully we could answer our first question: what is a budget?